Thank you for stopping by Luxuriously Poor, and I hope you find today's video helpful. And I would like to say that if you need wisdom on what to do for now or the future, this book is extremely helpful. There's been a lot of talk about war. People thinking that we might end up in another war or a World War III. A lot of people seem concerned about it. There's been a couple of countries that have told their citizens that they should store food away because they think war is coming. Well, I have seen some channels where people have stored food, and I'm in shock by the nonsense and what they think they have to store. It's just ridiculous. I would never do that. I think it's a waste of money, and they're going to be very disillusioned if it really happens to see just how hard it's going to be for them to cook half the stuff that they put away. Now, most people cannot do this either. There's a lot of people in this country who cannot grow their own meat. They can't have a garden. There's thousands and thousands of people that are that way. And so what they really depend on, even for storing and stocking, is the grocery store. And we may have to learn that there are some things that if we cannot have, like chickens, we may not be able to get the eggs. I have never stored powdered eggs. I don't know how good they are. I don't know if it would work. I don't know if you reconstituted the powder and you tried to scramble it, if it would taste good or not. Maybe someday I'll buy a can and test it out and see. I don't know. But you can keep a couple of chickens. A couple. My grandmother used to always have a couple of chickens somewhere in her yard running around, and she would get the eggs from them. And so it worked for her. And most people in this city can get a permit to have chickens if they apply for one. Is the grocery store going to be your best bet? No, not if there's a war. It won't be because the grocery store isn't going to have anything. So what's the best thing to do? Simplify. You really do need to simplify. And canned junk is not the best way to simplify because this stuff, eat it long enough and you will end up needing a doctor from something because something will go wrong with this nonsense. What do I mean by simplify? Well, go back to the times before canning came along, before they could put anything in a can. And what did they live on? Simple. It was lentils, some broad beans, depending on what country they lived in, but most of the Middle Eastern countries, they had leeks and onions. These were staples. Great antioxidants, great cancer fighters. They had things like dried fruit, dates, figs, that type of thing. They didn't go with oranges and apples. I watched a video of a woman who was putting raisins in something, and she was putting the raisins in her mouth. I could hear them crunch. And I said, those raisins are so old, they're actually dried completely. And they were crispy in her mouth, but she was putting them in her food. And I said to myself, wow, we think we have to put everything, dates, figs, when you buy them on the bag. I didn't know this because I have never put any of those things in the refrigerator. But it does tell you to refrigerate them. I ate figs that was a year and a half old that I never put in the refrigerator. They were stored in their original container. They were supposedly dried and they were perfectly fine. Cereals. I wouldn't buy this. It's just nonsense. And it definitely will pull the ants, rats, roaches, all kinds of stuff. I wouldn't store it. Look at the ingredients list. I would go with things like oatmeal. Dry oatmeal. Organic or grits. And that's what I would stick with. I wouldn't buy box cereal. I don't buy noodles. Not something that I'm going to go with long term and dream that I'm somehow going to be making spaghetti. Really? What am I going to cook with if there's a war? there will be no gas. So you're gonna go out in your yard and start a fire and put water on top of it? You have to keep it simple. You're not gonna eat the same way that you're eating now. So the best thing you can do is some lentils, some broad beans, a little bit of rice, and if you get some meat in your hands, maybe something like that. But I'll tell you more about it in other videos and the best way to do it. But keep it simple and don't worry about storing so much.